everyone, so I thought today we would do a baby name tag kind of video. A few of you have asked me to do this, but I didn't like a lot of the questions that were in a lot of the existing tags. I felt like some of them were just a bit weird, and I couldn't think of the answers for them, and they were all like, what would you call yourself if your name wasn't yourself but you had to still have the same initial as what your name is? And I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. So what I did instead was I asked for you guys to recommend some questions on Instagram to do with baby names, and so I'm just going to read through those. I thought that was a kind of more enjoyable way of doing it. So question number one is, do you have a baby name in mind? I think I mentioned this in my last kind of pregnancy Q&A. We do. We have had for quite a long time. We had kind of both been in agreement about this name for a girl, and we have always loved it. I've loved it since I can remember, it's quite weird. Like, I still find it weird calling her by her name, and I sort of feel like it won't be real until she's actually here. Other people will call her baby what the name is, which brings me on to one of the other questions, which is, if you have you decided on a baby name? If you have, are you sharing it with people? I don't mean online, I mean like friends and family. So yes, to a point. I've shared it with family, obviously, even though my personal advice would be share it with as few people as you possibly can, because people try and put you off and it's really, really annoying. And people will do that thing where they'll say, oh, I don't like it. And it's like, well, you don't have to call your child it, then, do you? Or they'll be like, oh, I went to school with a girl called that, she was a bitch. And it's like, cool, well, that doesn't, you know, collectively mean that that name is that person. But I would have liked to have kept it to myself longer. My family sort of knew that I liked it anyway, but my immediate family I don't have a problem with. With extended family, I sort of didn't really want people to know, but my immediate family can't keep their mouths shut, and I've pretty much outed it to everybody. I think my mum's probably told everybody that we know, which, like, it's not a big deal. I'm not massively fussed, but like, you know, like, I don't know, like just random aunts and uncles and things. People will ask you, oh, have you decided on a name? And what I usually will say was, yeah, I think so. And then they'll just be like, oh. And then I try not to say what it is. But then someone else will always jump in and say something. And you're like, And people are kind of, I don't know. It's really, really easy to read what people's opinions about it is beforehand. They'll let those opinions show. Whereas I think if you've had a baby and then you just say, oh, this is baby so-and-so, like this is what her name is, people are a little bit more, oh, how nice. And you don't get to see their kind of initial reaction because it's annoying. So yeah, that. Will baby have a middle name? She will have a middle name, yes. I was toying with the idea of we were either going to do a middle name or it was going to be a double-barreled surname because we're not married. And to be honest, even when we do get married, I'm going to have a double-barreled surname just because I don't see why I shouldn't. So I was going to give her a double-barreled surname, but I really wanted to have a middle name, and the middle name that we've chosen and then having a double-barreled surname as well was kind of a bit much, and I felt like it sounded a bit pretentious, and so I think we've decided on a middle name and she'll just have Paul's last name, and it just kind of, the sound of it just sounded better. So I think that's kind of what we've decided. But yeah, she will definitely have a middle name. I have a middle name. I don't like my middle name, but yeah, I have a middle name and Paul has two middle names as well. So that. did you have people trying to get involved with names and suggestions for names? So I presume they mean like family members. Not really. People make suggestions, and that was okay. I think girl names, it was a bit easier for us because we kind of did have an idea of what we liked already. Boy names was an interesting one. Before we knew what we were having, people did seem to want to kind of give their input, and that was a little bit tricky because we really struggled with boy names, which was another one of the questions that were here, is do you have any boy names that you'd like if you had a boy? Boy names was hard. I hardly like anything, number one. Like, I don't know, I don't like anything. The few that I do like, there were a couple that we couldn't use because they were already ones that we used in our family, and I'm not into that. But we just could not decide on anything that we liked. I don't know, it was really weird. It was like everything I was looking at, I was like, no, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. And then there's names that I really like that are nice, sort of traditional names, but I wouldn't pick them just because they're a little bit too traditional, and I know a lot of people with names like that, and that kind of put me off. And I like quite out there, kind of slightly more whimsical names. I can go a little bit more whimsical than Paul can. Paul, to be fair, can go quite whimsical for a very kind of like normal bloke, but not as whimsical as me. And so yeah, there was a little bit of disagreement there about things that we both wanted. There was one boy name that we sort of liked, but there's nothing that we loved. One of my favourite boy names that I really did want, but Paul was like, I absolutely hate it and do not want it under any circumstances, was Zion, which is like the Lauryn Hill song. Lauryn Hill and what's his name? One of Bob Marley's sons. Their son is called Zion, and there's the song to Zion, and I just think it's a really lovely name. And I think like then you can be Zai for short, and that's really cute, but Paul absolutely hates it. So that, and then his that he really liked that was a boy one was Senna, which was like, as in like the race F1 driver Ayrton Senna, which I just, no, I don't want, and I think it sounds just like a Senecot, and just no, I really didn't like it either. So yeah, we didn't come to any agreement. Thankfully we're having a daughter because we could agree about that. Girl names I think are easier because they're like a little bit softer. Let's do some more questions. If my phone would recognise my finger, that would be good. Why won't you say online what you're going to call the baby? I just don't want to. I want to introduce her when she's born. I think that's only fair. Do you prefer more traditional names or names that are a bit more unique? There's lots of traditional names that I do really like. So for boys, for example, I love Harry. I think Harry's such a lovely name. But I know about 4 Harrys, and I've got an unusual name. Funny story about my name. So for those of you who don't know, maybe you've just stumbled upon this video or whatever, my name is Avia. It's spelled A-V-I-A, and it is pronounced Avia. It's not Ava, Avia, Avia, it's Avia. But there was a drunken customer in the restaurant the other day who asked me what my name was, and when I told him, he told me that he was going to call me Olivia because he didn't like my name because he thought it sounded like a conjunctive disease, which was very kind of him to say. So yeah, but generally speaking, I like unusual names, even though there's lots of really traditional names that I think are really pretty. I really like Scarlett. I really like, what else do I like? I really like James, but I don't know, I just can't picture picking one of those names. I don't feel like it kind of goes with our whole kind of vibe, and yeah, I don't know. Paul's last name's like Maltese as well, so Paul's last name's Kassar, and I always think that like that kind of has to go with different things and that kind of thing. So yeah, I like whimsical. I don't mind like most celebrity baby names. I very rarely read them and think, oh my god, that's ridiculous. I'm like, oh cool. Yeah. I like whimsical names. But yeah, I'm gonna stop this video here because we're at 10 minutes already and I don't want to make it too long. But let me know if you can. Oh my god. Oh, I've got so many messages. Yeah, let me know if you want to guess what you think Baby Sparkle is going to be called. Put your guesses down below and we'll see who gets it right. But or suggestions for names that you like or your favourite baby names. I don't know, let's just have a chat about it, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.